The mandatory reporters that I went to, their excuses are the socio-economic issues that you guys wouldn't pretend don't exist. These so-called professionals, some of them actually are professionals in their field. There are others who, well, Megan Missigatis is not an advocate. According to the state of Nebraska, she needs to not have that title. That title is misleading, as there is a legal definition for that term in the state of Nebraska. The duties that these officers got to continue to play on and got to continue to push on Megan Missigatis are, by Nebraska law, her job as an advocate. Now, her excuse for not even trying was that it wouldn't work. And then, well, why didn't it work? Because it took her forever to even put an effort towards it. When she finally did, it was many, many, many months down the road. And then she wants to throw it in my face that she said it wouldn't work and then it didn't work. Well, when did I ask you to try, and when did you actually put forth just enough of a token effort to say you did? Don't get me wrong, she made a lot of calls, especially in the weeks following the assault by Scott DaCosta. The fact is, I've been trying to turn in Scott DaCosta since 2018. And I was repeatedly forced to go to Scott DaCosta, with him knowing that I was trying to ban him and his deputies for their negligence resulting in people's death, multiple deaths, for their threats, harassment, and intimidation towards people who are trying to help me. I'm scared. But you got to hear from Marcia Estrada that the reason that she didn't do her job as a mandated reporter is because it wouldn't work. There's almost no chance of winning. Everyone wants to throw that in my face. It's because they know that because of the title of mentally ill, I won't get heard unless someone else speaks up for me when it happens, not making me wait for days and days and days to have to go in. I have to go into the sheriff I'm trying to turn in the crimes of anybody else in town. Are you not understanding that that is the definition of conflict of fucking interest? All of these places blew me off for years. Sergeant Jones. Amanda Jonas was in Colorado. Sergeant Jones didn't know nothing about the situation. Those are the names that Officer Bill Burr threw at me. Woods and Investigator Woods and Sergeant Jones. That was just before the assault by State Trooper Lassen and Sheriff Scott DaCosta. I was trying to turn in Scott DaCosta still. Nebraska State Patrol was supposed to do their job, but they got away with not doing their job by calling me mentally ill, giving me the mentally ill treatment. Here's the great thing about the conversation with Peterson being public now on YouTube. Peterson and Rogers, these are the two main detectives, I should say, because there's also Hyatt and Detective Erica that I spoke with. I had to force them to come talk to me. I had to call them up. As soon as I got that call on the 28th, I did everything that I could to try to help. 28th of December, she wasn't even dead yet. She was still alive, cruising around. Well, I'm trying to help find Natalie and encourage people to help find Natalie and to not commit any crimes against the Bollingers, to try to find Natalie. And they just wanted to argue, and Natalie's family wanted to come at me, knowing that I had tried to reach out to them to get help stopping the violence. They knew that I was being treated like a child molester and a rapist, and that people were getting violent with me. But that didn't matter. That, to them, paled in comparison with their embarrassment. They got busted lying, and the detectives went out of their way to make sure that I wasn't allowed to even go to my court dates. To make sure that no matter what, everything that I tried to send out went to the wrong people. The biggest red flag with the Nebraska State Patrol wasn't that Sergeant Jones said that she didn't know nothing about it, despite the fact that, well, Bill Burr seemed to think that she was supposed to be aware of it and had supposed to have called me about it before. And she tried claiming that she had called me about it before and that my phone wasn't hooked up and I didn't answer. But that don't make any sense if she didn't know nothing about it, which that is recorded and it's on my YouTube channel. So I have an extremely analytical mind. Don't fucking lie to me. Most of these mandated reporters, and they are mandated reporters, Marcia Estrada outright lied to me about what the mandated reporter laws are in Nebraska. Outright lied to me about it. But you know what? Here's the thing. She's a mandated reporter who did everything that she could to look away once she realized I was trying to turn in her co-worker, Penny Cooper. For the same reason I was trying to turn in Jen Beebe. You get to hear these people talk about the fact that I'd told true stories, but they didn't try to come forward. They didn't even try. But then later on, they want to claim that they tried. Really, what did you try to turn in, and where's your proof? Then there's the specifics of when. When it made a difference, or after I had to do something desperate because you weren't speaking up. I'm being treated by the public horribly. But you don't want to hear that. You don't want to listen to that. You want to pretend that that couldn't ever possibly happen. These people are telling me that they won't do their jobs as mandated reporters because it won't work. These are mandated reporters. They're not even trying, despite the fact that in the state of Nebraska, everyone is a mandated reporter. And there is up to 6 months in jail and a pretty hefty fine for not coming forward when somebody comes to you about abuse. There's a time limit on it, too. That's why Laura Nelson has to be afraid of going to jail. That's why David Nelson has to be afraid of going to jail. They knew that a false narrative was being sold. They need to come forward about what they knew about the threats and harassment in Chapel, Nebraska. They need to be dragged into court for that, and charges need to be pressed against them. They didn't speak up. They knew that a disabled person who could not defend himself was being abused, and they did not speak up. Most of these people use their families as an excuse. I say an excuse because when I tell you about the threats and literally show you evidence of the threats against my loved ones by the very predators that I told you were doing these things, and you call me a liar, you make sure that I'm not allowed to show that in court. You make sure that the people who try to help me, like my little sister, I paid a lot of money for her help. A lot of money. And she didn't actually help the way that I needed because she was too busy. Whether it was because she's got brain damage from being beaten so much, from being choked out. Tara had to live with a child molester with my niece. One of those videos, it shows the situation. It shows a lot of the stuff that I was called schizophrenic for saying. It shows that those things are literally true. The video is called Law Enforcement at its Finest. It's got people that are calling me up and talking like this from foreign phone numbers. I believe that one was either British Columbia, or it might have been from Saskatchewan. It might have also been from, it doesn't matter. It was Canada. I had quite a few people from Canada threatening to cut off my balls and slit my throat, but I also had people here in the United States doing that, and I was told repeatedly that because of jurisdiction, they couldn't do nothing. Meanwhile, they abused the shit out of jurisdiction, didn't they? Like they wouldn't help me get a protection order against these predators because wrong jurisdiction. Meanwhile, out of all the times that I did contact Natalie Bollinger after leaving Virginia, were any of them from Boulder? No. When people assaulted me in Boulder, I left Boulder before getting in contact with her and trying to let her know that I was still being abused. I didn't call her up because she wouldn't touch my penis. I didn't call her up because I couldn't take no for an answer. I called her because I had gone to the cops. I had gone to my friends. They just wanted to blow me off, give me the mentally ill treatment. Now, here's the thing about these officers in Natalie's case finally speaking up. First of all, many of the things that I was called crazy for saying, called schizophrenic for saying, they verified were true. They also go out of their way to literally sidestep actual conversations, what actually went on. Jai Rogers and Detective Peterson claim that Detective Peterson left the room after 5 minutes, and that is not true. I even went outside and had a cigarette with Detective Peterson. Detective Peterson said to let him know if I was being abused, to call him up and let him know. He also said after the situation with the pocket dial from Rochelle Shelley Campbell while I was at Candace Bondurant's, where Officer Michael Beard did not take it seriously. He did not take a report over a 911 call. He blew me off. He would have let Miss Danica be beaten to death. Said it's not his responsibility. Miss Shelley could have been being beaten to death at that very moment, and they used jurisdiction as an excuse to do nothing. They obviously knew something was up. That officer was smiling the whole time, told me I needed to write my local senator. He was already outside of Candace's house. He was driving real slowly up the street. I'd called 911 already. I thought he was there to talk to me about the 911 thing. Now, he'd been driving around the house for days. Driving around the house since I got there. These officers have coordinated with the Bollingers to gaslight me, and their own testimony proves it. But you gotta look at the evidence. Don't tell me you believe me. Look at the evidence and share it. Please. You see how difficult it is to get anything done after the fact? After the damage has been done? After these officers have already gotten to have their one-on-one time with me and slander the shit about the situation? Now that now that Detective Peterson and Detective Rogers have officially committed crimes against me publicly, slandering my name, omitting evidence, going out of their way to paint the situation in a way that it was not. There's a woman today who said that she would listen to my story. I offered her $20 an hour. I've got $100 to live the rest of the month on. It's in my account. $100. I had to get my vehicle fixed. I had to get insurance. Broke. It happens. Had to get gas. Had to get food. I don't get any sleep. You know what goes through my head is all of that time that those people procrastinated until I had to do something desperate. And then they finally did something. Then later on, they want to pretend like they did something beforehand and that they stopped helping me because I did crazy things. No, I did desperate things because they wouldn't. They needed to speak out. If the police are going to repeatedly send me to places that it's not their job over and over and over again, all these places sending me to the same places I've called already, and it's not their job, it's nobody's fucking job. The laws have no teeth. See, I went to mandated reporters like I was supposed to. But the laws have no teeth, so when those mandated reporters didn't do their jobs, it didn't matter. I gave people the benefit of the doubt on a lot of the things that they claimed that I had gotten wrong. I also went through and listened to the videos, and I was wrong to give them the benefit of the doubt. I went back through and looked at the text messages, or when I was looking for a piece of evidence, I'd run into a couple other pieces of evidence. Well, that's what I get for trying to give them the benefit of the doubt. They wanted to say that my memory was flawed. And when I went back and looked, no, it wasn't. A lot of the conversations with Megan Messegate is, see, she wants to just go through the stuff that she has access to on YouTube, on my YouTube channel. And she knows that there's a bunch of those videos that aren't up on my YouTube channel because I was trying, out of respect for her wishes, not to post up those videos with her personal family business that she wanted to talk about. Well, now that she wants to deny that she did that, I have to post them up to show that she lied, and also that she was claiming she's 100% honest, because she's not. When I'm stressed, my words don't come together. They don't come together right. They don't come together properly. And a lot of my predators have played on that. That's the whole thing about gaslighting. You gaslight somebody until they can't function. Until they're literally screaming for help. And then you pretend like they're monsters for screaming for help. These people assumed I was crazy and didn't pay any attention to what I actually said. These people know the socio-economic issues that I'm facing, and they know that they're real, and they have verified that they're real. Actual professionals in their field, like Marcia Estrada. Marcia Estrada is recorded on my YouTube channel, admitting that, yes, I have PTSD. I'm not delusional. She says that too. She says that I'm not schizophrenic. See, all these things that these people claimed, by calling me crazy, they were able to prevent any evidence or any of my words from being taken seriously. from actually being looked at. They pretended it didn't exist. They pretended it did not exist. They stole the evidence repeatedly. It was in their lockup, but they pretended it didn't exist. They worked across multiple jurisdictions. In the situation in August of 2018, there was no less than 6 jurisdictions present. There was the Secret Service, there was the FBI, there was Sheridan Police Department, there was Longmont Police Department, then there was Boulder Police Department and Boulder Sheriff's Department. And that's where the assault that George speaks about happened. Those cops just wouldn't stop assaulting me in the jails and in the prison. And they dropped the charges. They had to drop the charges every time. Except for a couple of times they were able to torture me into submission by using my public pretenders lying at me. And they're getting away with it because, well, client confidentiality. I needed Graham to be present in that room. And that woman, Stephanie Cotton, who wasn't even my fucking public pretender, was claiming that she couldn't have Graham in the room because it would break confidentiality. I didn't have the money to keep on going to court dates for them to postpone it again and again and again. For them to prevent me from turning in my predators, because those predators were allowed to press false charges on me or force me into a situation where I had to break the law because they were treating me like I was crazy, not taking anything seriously, not actually listening. Too busy being Debbie Downers and telling me it won't work. It's because you never fucking tried. Miss Peaches literally never actually tried to go actually in with me. She just procrastinated. The first time she claimed that she went in with me was the situation where, the 29th of December of 2017. She didn't go in with me. She went in her own vehicle, and I went in a squad car. Miss Peaches was never in the same room with me. The things that she told Jai Rogers and Detective Peterson not to do, they did those things, and I've recorded that. Whoa. Holy shit. Apparently, I took off the parking brake but did not have it in gear. Now I have to find my keys. I am so glad I didn't back up into someone. I told you I'm not safe to drive. I'm scared all of the time that someone could kill my little sister, my niece, or any of these other people. These people were threatened, harassed, and intimidated into not helping. Their reasons for not helping me and what the police wrote down are miles from the truth. Either these people lied to me or the cops lied, because they're telling two very conflicting stories. But the cops are heard, and none of these people tried to get heard. None of them made police reports. I'm not safe. I'm never safe. MMR type be safe, bro. That doesn't get to happen. I'm in an unsafe situation. Homelessness in itself is inherently unsafe. You're the number one victim for the police. You're the number one victim for the public. You're the number one easiest person to take it out on. You're the number one person most likely to be killed by a serial killer. So I got someone who's supposed to help me at 2. I hope she does. You know, there was that lady here who was gonna help me, and I had to wait all the way until Saturday, and then Saturday it didn't happen, but she finally did help me. The problem is that when she didn't do so on the day that she said she would, you know, I was afraid it was going to be open-ended. It just never happened. A lot of people left it open-ended. Oh, I told you I'd help you. I didn't say when. These people, these professionals are all verifying the tricks of the trade. They're all aware of the tricks that the cops get to use, of the laws that they get to abuse. They speak of those things to me, but they didn't speak out publicly, did they? Now, Meg finally did. How many years did it take for her to speak out publicly on a recording that she knew for a fact she was being recorded? By that point, she was well aware that I record everything. So then when she wants to say that she's going to look through just the stuff that's on the internet, shit, there's a lot of stuff that's not up there that I'm trying to show people in person. That includes those conversations with Megan Masagadis, the ones that are not up there. I get told that this evidence doesn't exist unless I post it on the internet, and then I post it on the internet and people refuse to look. And then there's the stuff that I don't post up. But because I don't post it, people pretend that it doesn't exist. No, it's got people's private information in it. So I need somebody to listen to it and verify it and basically siphon out the private information on it. Or I need someone to help me to edit out the social security numbers and phone numbers so that the important parts, the facts of the matter, are heard. With my little sister's friend destroying an entire computer worth of evidence, I probably should have killed myself then and there. Should have killed myself right then, as soon as I saw that Ed had destroyed all that evidence. I should have killed myself right in front of him and my little sister and Nora, I believe was her name. It's not help. And I let my sister know about it. Instead of taking it seriously, she started making excuses for Ed. Just like when I told her that Ed was not an honest person, that he was delusional, that he had schizoaffective disorder, and Tara didn't believe me. And sure enough, he verified it. And then he went and destroyed a computer full of evidence without my permission. Swell feller. I needed him to look at it and give me a bid, not destroy a fucking whole computer worth of evidence. Not tell me he knows what he's doing and then destroy a whole computer worth of evidence. Ed was trying to tell her that there's military drones flying over her house. Holy fucking shit. I didn't want him to come help. He wasn't going to be able to be helpful, but Tara swore up and down. I asked God for help when I was a little kid. He helped me by looking away while I was raped. while I was beaten, while I was sexually assaulted repeatedly, while I was not heard when I tried to turn those predators in. They tried to claim that I was schizophrenic, but then just as now they couldn't make it stick. It was because I tried to turn in one of the staff members that they tried to do that, but they couldn't make it stick. And that staff member later on did the things that I was telling on him for to more people. And he lost his job and he was arrested, and that was 1986, I believe. Might have been 1987. But my sister told me that the cops followed her, and this is after the cops have been swarming around Dallas's house for weeks. And Marcia Estrada has spoken about how one of her other clients had been mentioning to her more than once, apparently, about Scott DaCosta following her and about the fact that she was aware that he was doing it to me too. This client that she was talking about was a female. I was able to gather that much. I wonder if it's Rory Jepson's ex, because they were trying to turn in Scott DaCosta too. Rory Jepson's dead now, but his ex-girlfriend is still alive. Well, she was his girlfriend when he died. That's Joe Newman's daughter. They railroaded the fuck out of her in court too. Told her they wouldn't listen to her because she didn't have it filed on time. See, that's the thing about people who are disabled, and she is. If she tried her best to turn in what was actually going on, you know, her house burnt down, killed 42 cats. I got to hear that while I was on the radio while I was being transported from Scottsbluff Jail to Lincoln to the prison. I'm so tired and so exhausted, but I have to stay awake until 2 o'clock so I can show this lady. Because I may not get another chance. I hope she looks. I hope she listens. I hope she decides to help. People didn't come forward because they were afraid it wouldn't do any good. They didn't come forward because they didn't want to be targeted by the same people that I'm called crazy because those people targeted me. But these other people who are afraid of those very same predators, well, they're not treated like they're crazy for being afraid of those predators. But instead of going after those predators, they target me. People don't like that I told the truth, especially in Nebraska where everyone's a mandated reporter, but there's also the mandated reporters in Colorado. They gave me the mentally ill treatment, the he's crazy treatment. They pushed me into a fucking severe panic attack intentionally. They went out of their way. Thank goodness it's a murder trial, right? Thank goodness that the evidence that Detective Peterson and Detective Rogers, well, they had to record the conversations with me. Otherwise, they broke the law. The reason that so many body cameras were destroyed is because of something called entrapment. They intentionally misled the situation to get me to do things that I shouldn't have had to do. Even directing me to do things that were illegal and immoral, and they knew it. I need help stopping it. But everybody blows me off like it's no big thing. I just saw a man here. He was in the military. He's retired now. I talk to him from time to time. He's one of those. He's a pretty nice feller, but he's one of those good luck with that kind of fellers. So going to him for help about this is, well, I have to be afraid to ask people for help. I have to be afraid that they'll believe the slander before they ever bother to look at whether or not that slander is true. And see, here's the thing, is that I need to be able to show that slander against me that I told the truth. But if they hate me before ever looking, that never works, does it? People want to hate me for the things that I was forced to do because nobody cared. People keep saying, well, you need to do it yourself. And I keep showing you that I tried doing it myself. I need people to try it with me so that when I'm called crazy, that there's a witness. And there are witnesses. Megan Misgatis is a witness to many of these situations. She was not allowed to speak in any of my court dates. You want to tell me there's no cover-up? They're literally denying my advocate the right to advocate at that point. Because after the assault by Scott DaCosta, that's when she actually tried to do the things that are actually legally obligated of an advocate in the state of Nebraska, with the exception of the showing up in court and helping me to prepare the court papers. The showing up in court was never going to happen. She let that be known loud and clear. So when these officers kept telling me that it's her job to do that, it's her job to show up to court, and it's her job to help me prepare the paperwork. Well, when she did finally do that, well, I did the right thing. I went to the people I'm supposed to, and it didn't work. But then you get to listen to the conversation with her, and yeah, sure enough, she at least admitted why she never actually made an effort. She at least admitted to it. Please help me to get the evidence shown, please. I need my life to end. I need this pain to end. Natalie and her friends pushed me to the point that I was suicidal over a year before Natalie was killed. And none of my friends cared. I changed from who I used to be because I was being abused and I was scared and no one would listen. So then these people yell at me because I changed. I'm having a trauma response to being abused and being blown off by all the people that I'm told I need to go to. I'm told that these things are felonies for people to do to me, but the cops making every excuse because, well, the term mentally ill. I was called crazy, so people just assumed the pretty face was telling the truth. The thing is, Alicia Bollinger is she's a master manipulator. She comes from a long line of child molesters and drug dealers and drug addicts. She learned it firsthand from the best. She learned how to use religion to manipulate people. She learned how to use her looks and her gender to manipulate people. She learned to accuse people falsely when she's embarrassed about something because she didn't want to get in trouble. She didn't want to face the consequences of her actions and didn't mind somebody else taking those for her. So I took the punishment. And then the very predators that she was telling me about getting a hold of me to threaten to kill me and my family. She fled the state of Colorado to get away from those people and their drugs. People like Tim Beeson and Ted Bollinger. I just wanted the abuse to stop. But nobody cared. Out of sight, out of mind. When your predators are there to slander your name, but you can't be there to defend yourself against that slander. You don't get the opportunity to show these people or tell these people the truth. Because when you go there in person, you're getting assaulted by these very people who are slandering your name. And their friends. And the people they slandered you to. They pretend that nobody would ever commit crimes against somebody after the shit that I was accused of. They pretend like if they don't look at any of the evidence, if they call me crazy and refuse to look at evidence that shows I'm telling the truth, and do everything that they can to steal it, to prevent it from being shown in court, to make sure that I have to go to my predators literally to turn them in. Please help. Please actually help. Please be sober. Please look at the evidence. Please don't treat me like I'm a bad person when your family crisis prevents you from helping me the way that you were supposed to. When people are trying to punish you because you tried to help, don't blame me for those people victimizing you because I didn't do it. I told you it was a risk, and you said that you were fine with it, that you could handle it, that you and your kids were tough. That's right, lots of people told me about their kids being threatened for speaking up. People didn't speak up because they were afraid to. And then they wanted to be angry with me because, well, you're afraid to tell the truth, but I have to tell the truth. I have to show the truth. You know, they wouldn't listen to anything that I had to say until I did desperate things. And then I'm a horrible person because I was gaslighted into doing those things. The Bollingers and their friends just kept on doing it, and so did the cops. And my friends, no, they didn't go in with me. They didn't go in with me ever to make a police report. Inmates who had to be afraid of retaliation by the guards are the ones who made police reports. I've got evidence of that. I have no safe place to go through this. I can't go through it in Starbucks or in the library. I get told it's inappropriate for me to talk about these things in the library or in Starbucks. I've got no place else to do it. I can't go to the police without someone there and present. And nobody was there and present. Molly Smith tried once, but she didn't speak up about the situation. I do need her to. I need her to speak up about it in court. I needed these people to help me to get a court date by speaking up and making fucking police reports. By showing that I was telling the truth instead of lying to me, apparently, because these people are trying to hide the fact that they said the things that they said. Please help me. Please actually look at the evidence. Please help me to fill out the paperwork and get it turned in, please. I've done it so many times, there is always some excuse. Please help me. They can deny me my rights by calling me crazy, calling me mentally ill, pretending I'm schizophrenic. Please help me. Please look at the evidence. Detectives Peterson and Rogers outright lied and misled the situation that happened with me. They're not allowed to destroy their recordings, and the recordings that they made with me show that they intentionally misled the situation when they spoke publicly on it. There's a lot of times where I called up and I fucking yelled at them because I was taking abuse, and they told me that I was cleared. But they never told the public. They never told the media, but they claimed that they did. Meanwhile, I had to make those calls at the very beginning alone because I was forced onto the streets. Kayla Trujillo, I was at her house to get help. Natalie Bollinger tried pretending that because I went to Kayla Trujillo's for help, that it meant that I was walking right by her house. I didn't even know she was in fucking Colorado. I was pissed off because I couldn't help, even in the jurisdictions where these things happened. But Natalie Bollinger could get a protection order from all the way in Virginia. Turned out she wasn't in Virginia, she was in Colorado. Also, I was pissed off because I was never notified that I had court. But here I was being handed a protection order. So I was pissed off that they had a court date without me. I'd been trying to turn in these predators for over a year. And everyone had blown me off with those pretty words. When somebody comes to you to turn in people who are abusing them, they're not coming to you for fucking advice. They're coming to you because they need help turning it in. Because of socioeconomic issues that do actually exist, and because of protocols that are killing my friends. Please help me to get rights for the disabled and give teeth to those laws so these mandated reporters have actual consequences for not doing their jobs. By law, there's supposed to be. By law, Laura Nelson broke the law on multiple occasions. She broke the law with the situation with Lana and Amanda Engeline. She broke the law in regards to the situation with Natalie Bollinger. She broke the law repeatedly. That's the thing about a state like Nebraska. The reason that everybody is a mandated reporter is because so many people were ending up dead, where people knew that something was going on, but they never spoke up. They allowed the innocent to be murdered. They allowed innocent people to be raped. And Nebraska law, well, they don't like that too much. But then again, you look at the way that it is in real life. Marcia Estrada, Penny Cooper, all these people explain that the system doesn't work. All these people working for the system explain that it doesn't work. Now let's take a look at the situation with Alyssa Rainwater and Amanda Jonas. Alyssa Rainwater claimed that she had spoken to Amanda Jonas and that Amanda Jonas was interested in taking my report, turn in Scott DaCosta, but I called up Amanda Jonas and she outright lied. Either she lied or Alyssa Rainwater lied, which is it? But Alyssa Rainwater wants to pretend like she's been victimized because I posted up evidence that what she said and what Amanda Jonas said were not the same thing. She wanted to say, hey, you put my family at risk. Well, guess what? You put my family at risk by not coming forward like you said you would. If these things that you told me are true, you should have no problem speaking out publicly. Why don't they speak out publicly? Well, they claim because they're afraid of retaliation by the Bollingers. And absolutely, who wouldn't be? But if you don't keep your word, if you waste my time, you have to worry about retaliation from me, and that means that I'm going to expose the truth. I'm going to tell people what actually happened, and I'm going to show what actually happened to the best of my ability. A lot of people knew that they were going to get away with their crimes when they found out that my phones were stolen or lost. But how long had I been trying to turn these things into the cops? How long before they were lost or stolen? What did the cops do when those things were stolen? These people forced me into a fucking meltdown. They forced me into a mental breakdown and then abused me for having a mental breakdown. Polly Olson's just one of many in prison. Still, with these people who I told you about being in prison, you still pretend like I'm schizophrenic, like I'm some crazy nut job. No, I'm overwhelmed. I'm overwhelmed with trying to get help. While the police write down that I never tried to get help, no, it's not that I didn't try to get help. You can listen to all these people's excuses. And I told the truth about their excuses. While they claim that I'm schizophrenic because none of these people ever came forward, they cut me off from being able to communicate with these people over and over again. And so did the public. And thank goodness Facebook changed their algorithms, because now people can't go claiming everything that I type as spam and have it removed. These guys got away with doing the things that they did by manufacturing crimes. Y'all want to tell me, oh, this isn't against the law, that's not against the law. They are actually. They actually are against the law. So you fucking pocket lawyers who wanted to tell me that you weren't real lawyers, you should have stuck with that instead of talking out your assholes. When you've got lawyers telling you that the system doesn't work, that you have to have a guardian or an advocate. I knew that Meg's job as an advocate, if she was an actual advocate, I knew what it was. But she told me that wasn't her job, and she repeatedly told me it wasn't her job instead of communicating with these other places and departments when it made a difference. When they slandered her in court more than once, did it make any difference to her? What consequences are there truly for her being slandered in court by the Dual County Sheriff's Department or by an actual judge? She did finally take it seriously. She did finally take it seriously. And then DaCosta and Snell got to abuse their power to have me put in prison, to cut me off from that assistance yet again. In order to be protected. It's not about my disabilities, because my disabilities make these things felonies, but because I don't have the paperwork done and filled out and turned in. Well, that's not my fault, that's theirs. Brenda Dickinson needs to speak up about that, but she's angry at me because since she never spoke out about that, and I got abused with her knowing that that was fucking bullshit, but then again, she wasn't listening to me. Just like everyone else, she had her own opinions, and she was too busy on her fucking drugs to listen to a goddamn thing I was saying. Now, it'd be nice to be able to blame it on the pot, but she was on a lot heavier medications because of her rheumatoid arthritis, and it really does basically tweak her the fuck out. So maybe if I continue talking on my phone, I'll be able to stay awake. I'll be here when that lady gets off of work at 2 o'clock, and she'll come and listen to my story. I offered her $20 an hour just to listen. And of course, I'm going to have my internet access, and I'll show her what's going on. Oh, there's a fruit fly flying around in here. Probably came out of one of these fucking trash bags. My car is covered in garbage. I don't want to live like this. I never did. You victimized me into homelessness, and then you use the fact that I'm homeless to pretend that I chose to be homeless. You chose this. You chose this. You know, you chose this life. No, I didn't. No, I fucking didn't. And you get to hear about Natalie's looks. She's pretty, she's pretty, she's pretty. I'm ugly, I'm ugly, I'm ugly. And that's what most of these people made their judgment call based on. Gender and looks. Including Hyatt. Including Peterson. Including Rogers. The pretty girl called me crazy, so I must be. I showed them evidence of the threats and harassment and stalking. They went out of their way to ignore it and pretend it didn't exist. They went out of their way to either lie to me about my computer or lie to Amanda Jonas about my computer. She needs to testify on that. But then again, she's a judge in Adams County now, and her misconduct will have her removed. But then again, I need help turning her in because I will be ignored. They will use the mentally ill tag as an excuse. I have to have someone there and present. Megan Misgatis is aware of this already. Same thing with Marcia Estrada. Please help me turn in the crimes committed by Penny Cooper, the crimes committed by Jen Beebe. Marcia Estrada backtracked, so there might be possible charges for her too. There definitely will be charges as far as me trying to turn in the abuse against me. Paulina A. typed, I hope you can get the help you deserve. No one deserves to live that way. Well, Pauline A., I need people to look at evidence and speak up. People who, well, it's not just entertainment to them. People who actually care about me as a human being. I finally was able to get a GoFundMe started, but I'm not going to be allowed to have the money because I can't be in Chapel, Nebraska to receive the replacement credit card because the one that you get with the package, it's just a temporary one until you get one in the mail, and then they turn off your temporary one, even if it's got money on it. So even though I was, and like I said, I need help doing those things. The lady here at the Starbucks helped me to set it up so that I could have a GoFundMe, and nobody's sending any money to it. People sent money to the first GoFundMes that were made right after Natalie was killed. But those weren't mine. People didn't understand those weren't mine. People wanted to say that I scammed people for a bunch of money with those GoFundMes. No, Ted Bollinger scammed people with his GoFundMes. He spent that money to go on vacation to Boston. You know what happened to the GoFundMe money that was sent to Candace Bondurant and sent to Cara Rogers that was supposed to go to me? Candace went out of her way to mislead the situation and slander the fuck out of me. She also sent some of the things that I said to her, and no, they weren't nice. She didn't. Why, Candace? Candace claimed that she was threatened, harassed, and intimidated by police and her landlord and internet wingnuts, and I'm the one who was punished. I was the one who was thrown out into the January snow. I was the one who Laura Nelson drove all the way to Niwot so that I could see Todd Ryan case, because he was the only person that I knew in that area who might possibly help me, and I knew at that point already that he was too fucked up on ketamine to actually help. But at least it was a roof, and hopefully he was done abusing his girlfriend. And no, he wasn't. I let Chloe Pachovas know that I was the one who told Miss Peaches about Todd. And Miss Peaches told her sister. Told Chloe's sister, of course. People just didn't want to hear it. If they cared, why would they tell me they don't want to hear it? Why would they later on throw things in my face, throw slander in my face that I was trying to show them was untrue? These people who claim to love me, and you get to hear many of them claim to love me. Sarah Nelson, Sarah Nelson is one of the guards in the prison that I tried to turn in. She's in prison now. Yay! Same with Michelle Decini. Yay! Michelle Decini is going to wish that I hadn't saved her life. Well, the guards might be nice to her, and she'll be sent to an Alpha unit. Alpha unit is the same unit that they send sexual offenders to. If you're a police officer, you go to a sex offenders unit for your own safety. People will literally kill you as a guard in prison, as a former guard who is now an inmate. So Michelle Decini is, well, she's also a sexual predator, so she belongs there anyway. Same thing with Sarah Nelson. Sexual predation against inmates. I made sure that I documented the abuse while I was in there, and those guards made sure that they did everything in their power to blow me off and to continually do what it is done anywhere else. Press false charges. They have courts in the jails and the prisons, and you're not allowed to defend yourself, and you're not allowed to have a lawyer. That's not okay. Then they force you to sign a piece of paper saying that you've read a rule book that you don't have access to. But you have to sign that before they'll give you the rule book. How much sense does that make? Then people always want to argue with me, like my first day in prison. I didn't get to take a shower when I got there. In booking, when they first take you to the prison, they're supposed to give you a shower downstairs. They didn't give me a shower. And then when I went upstairs and I explained, hey, I'd like to take a shower. Well, you already had a shower downstairs. No, I didn't. Well, they have to give you a shower for safety reasons. You have to have a shower. So we know they gave you. No, I didn't. They gave me clothes, told me to change my clothes, and I changed my clothes. But they just wanted to argue. The lady who said she'd help me out at 2 o'clock is here now. She's got to start her shift at work. I'm so scared. Always. Bravery is not the absence of fear. It's standing up in the face of it. These people didn't try because they were afraid. They were afraid when they're not even the ones who are taking the consequences. The worst consequences that they ever got from me was me telling the truth. Because they didn't like it, because they were embarrassed. Because they did wrong things. When mandated reporters like, well, Caitlin, she's a mandated reporter in the state of Colorado that I went to for help, said that she can't do her job as a mandated reporter because she'll lose her job. Imagine that. You can't tell the truth because you'll lose your job. You can't do your job as a mandated reporter. And in the state of Colorado, that's one of those states where you have to be a professional. So obviously, she's a professional in one of those fields where you're a mandated reporter, which is different from Nebraska. In Nebraska, everyone is a mandated reporter. These pocket lawyers didn't do a very good job, and they gave legal advice. Well, that's pretty stupid of them, being as they don't have the credentials to give legal advice. You know what I think you should do? No, I don't want to hear what you think I should do. You haven't bothered to listen to what's going on. And you haven't bothered with trying to speak up, so I don't give a fuck what your opinion is. Whatever your opinion is making you too much of a coward to tell the truth, you can take that shit and shove off, sailor. Hood River Fire and EMS. Now, those are actual heroes. Cops aren't, but firemen are. EMTs are. I remember when Danny Kitlitz was killed. And the police, they knew that Danny was back there not responsive hours before I found him. Hundreds of people walking past him, his pants pulled down to his knees and his pockets turned out. Tony was going to give him mouth to mouth. That was the manager of the pedestrian shop. I had to stop him. The fluids that were coming out of Danny, they were multicolored. I knew he'd been dead for hours. I'd seen people before who had just freshly died, and I'd seen people before who'd been dead for a while, and it was obvious. I could tell just from seeing his ear. I didn't even know it was Danny. All I saw was his ear. And I saw the coloration, and I knew he was dead, and I went and let Tony know. And we went out there, and sure enough, he was dead, and it was Danny. Tony started giving him chest compressions. There was so much fluid coming out. And the detective in that case was Sergeant Gerhardt, who helped cover up the wrongdoing of his department and his dispatch that resulted in the death of Daniel Kitlitz. Later on, when I had to try to turn in Waylon Lolatai, I had to go to this very same sergeant. Please make it stop. I can't function because I'm scared. You guys will harm me if I don't do what you want immediately. That's the thing that a lot of people want to throw in my face. If they don't do what I want immediately. No. You don't do what I want ever. So don't tell me about this immediately crap. When you want those videos taken down, you want them taken down now. Those were, well, several women's exact words. Take it down now. I absolutely will not. I will not take down the truth. You want to take your words down because you got busted lying. No, I absolutely will not. You got busted lying. You take the consequences. This whole, well, you need to fess up to your shit. Well, you need to fess up the fuck to yours. I have fessed up to mine. And a lot of people want to say that too. Oh, well, you need to fess up to your own. I do. Maybe you should have paid attention instead of assuming. People are dead. And you tell me that I need to just get over it. You can rail about your dead grandma for fucking 6 years, right? But I'm not allowed to feel bad about any of my loved ones, am I? I have to just get over it. You expect me to be a robotic automaton. You expect me to fulfill your expectations without the means to do so. When you tell me to do it myself, you are throwing completely out the window the fact that if I have to do it by myself, it makes me a victim. It makes me too easy to victimize. Scott DaCosta cut me and Meg off from being able to fill out that developmental disability paperwork that needed to be done by having me arrested. Prior to that, William Barr had prevented me from getting that paperwork done with the assistance of Justine Marks. That was all the way back in 2018. These people need a piece of peanut. It's obvious they're not going to be honest, but that's all right as long as I have help. Someone to help me to turn in these predators. Now, I got a infection on my backside that's been there for a few years because in one of the facilities I was in, they injected me with drugs, and the infection is something that on the day that I was assaulted by Scott DaCosta, Polly Olson, who was arrested yesterday, Polly Olson drove me to the hospital. They want to charge me money, but I was already in custody. They need to charge Toole County that money. That doesn't stop them from harassing me and telling me I have a court date in a place I can't even go. Well, sure, the ambulance is in Chapel, Nebraska, but the firm that owns it is in a different state. And if I don't show up to their court, they automatically win. The ways that they screw the poor out of their money.